Hello, BookTube. Today I want to discuss King Solomon's Mines by H. Rider Haggard. I have King Solomon's Mines in this omnibus edition from 1928, which includes Cleopatra, She, and Alan Quatermain, the sequel to King Solomon's Mines. The King Solomon's Mines is an adventure novel and the progenitor or one of the progenitors of the Lost World genre of speculative fiction. The story is rather simple. Alan Quatermain is a British living, an Englishman living in South Africa who makes his living by leading hunting parties, hunting himself, and trading. During a trip, he is approached by Sir Henry Curtis and his friend Captain John Good, with a to aid them in finding Sir Henry's younger brother, who has gone missing, and in search of King Solomon's Mines. Quatermain has in his possession a map to the mines. Eventually, Quatermain is persuaded to join the party, and they head out. While they are building the team, they are approached by a Zulu warrior named Umbopa, and he joins the party and they head out. After trekking through the desert, they hit upon the lands where the diamond mines are located and meet the inhabitants, or the current inhabitants, who are called the Kukuwana, an offshoot of the Zulu. In Kukuwana land, there is a king called Twala who is supported by Gagul, the maybe mortal, maybe just very long-lived, and basically sharing the same name of her mother and grandmother and great-grandmother ad infinitum. Twala is a tyrant who basically uses his power to enrich himself and oppress the Kukuwana people. The Englishmen they insert themselves into Kukuwana politics, in part because Twala is a tyrant and not a very nice person, and Gagul pretty much knows exactly why they're there. Conveniently, Mpopa reveals himself to be Ignosi, the actual rightful ruler of the Kukuwanas. Amongst the Kukuwanas, the twins are taboo. The younger twin is usually killed, which should have happened to Twala. He is the younger twin to Ignosi's father. But Gagul saved the child and basically raised him to be a tyrant, and eventually, once an opportunity presented himself, had Twala assassinate his older brother and drive his wife and child out of Kukuwana land. Ignosi uses the discontent, particularly of his uncle, to foment a rebellion, which is successful, and In payment, the Englishmen, Quatermain, Good, and Sir Henry are shown the diamond mines and the treasure chamber and are trapped by Gagul. And they eventually escape with some diamonds and they leave. And along the way they find George Curtis, Sir Henry's brother, who ended up waylaid for several years at an oasis. I enjoyed the book. It's a very exciting. It is, of course, dated, which is really no surprise, given it is 120 years old, give or take. But it is striking that the racism is at points almost sort of more moderate, but at the same time also it's still there, very much so. The Quatermain does not like to use the N-word, and that's very much at the beginning of the novel. He's like, I don't like to use this word. That there are more gentlemen in Africa than there are in England. At the same time, he does use the K word, which for an American audience is probably like, okay, what's the K word? Also, bits of racism is Quatermain does treat all African characters paternalistically and very hierarchically. That there is a hierarchy, and he treats the African characters, be they South Africans, Zulu, Hottentots, I think that's how you pronounce that. Pronounce the name. The Kukuanas as more children. And the Kukuanas are portrayed as being noticeably lighter skinned than their Zulu cousins, with the exceptions of Twala, who is, I think, described as being noticeably darker skinned. The another bit of racism is the there's a relationship between Good and Kukuana girl named Fulata that Quatermain is not happy she dies in a heroic sacrifice, but relieved, which is another bit of in the racism. Another aspect of the story is, and really, like, when you critically think about King Solomon's Mines, obviously there's the racism, there's also the colonialism. And I noticed reading that the that while it is, exactly how pro-colonialist the novel is, in that there's a noted anti-colonial bent to the novel. The Gagul, despite her evil and her corruption, is, she has Quatermain, Good, and Sir Henry picked. She's like, you're here for those diamonds. I know you are. And I know you're going to leave. And if you are allowed to leave, you're going to bring more of your kind back here to destroy us. And I'm not going to let you do that. And Ignacy, who, while professing friendship and great love for Quatermain, Curtis, and Good, is also like, no, I'm going to keep my people isolated. I'm not going to engage with other Europeans. And also, when the trio are in the treasure cave, they are not portrayed particularly well. I mean, they're like very, their greed takes over, and their actions are like, yeah, less heroic. At the same, but then you have, obviously, it is, the colonialism is unquestioned. And so I really would like to read some critical studies of Alan Quatermain at some point. I think I actually might have some somewhere on my computer. But yeah. So anyway, that's my thoughts on King Solomon's Mines. Thank you, BookTube.